We want to thank you so much for us to be able to come together as a board and as a team to do our town, our due diligence. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank you.
Please remain standing. We have the pleasure of Scout Troop 713, and they have been asked and cleared to come and lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Troop, please come forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or deletions to this agenda?
I have an addition.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I would like to add to the agenda discussion of the Boys and Girls Club contract.
Discussion of the Boys and Girls contract.
It's been added.
Okay, that's item 9E. I would like to not really adding but changing item 8A. Instead of that being a greeting from Mr. Lee Boyd, right, we're going to have a greeting or presentation from Zeta Chado. And that's C-A-I-D-A P-I-C-H-A-R-D-O. It's okay. I did that's all that matters. Item 8A1, the mayor and the board have a presentation. And you may just identify that as a presentation. The recipient is here. And item 8C is Doc Eaton is not here, but I will inform the board as to something that she has to offer for us. So, is there a motion? Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
I'd like to make a motion.
Hold on, please. Hold on.
The clerk said we need to add we need to add F and 9F and 9.
Okay. All right. Okay. Item 9F. We need to add.
It's on
It's on there.
Well, hold on.
It was put up there so that you would know what we were going to talk about, but we need to add it to the agenda officially.
Is there a motion? Okay. Yes. Okay, if you notice, on our agenda, it's in red. It is not on the public. As originally posted.
Right.
If you this was posted early on, it's not.
Right.
Right. So we need a motion. Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we add 9F and 9G. Discussion of the Boys and Girls, Resolution 2018-13 Disaster Debris Recovery Service, Mr. Durrell, as well as board determined November the 12th, 2018 meeting schedule.
The motion is on the floor. Alderman Cooper.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Okay. Are we ready? Okay, a motion to approve the order. Did anybody read? I see some arms, but I don't see any lights.
No, the light's not coming on.
Oh,
They're working.
that's okay. Well, what you can do is hit on the tape. Alderwoman Jackson.
I'll make a motion that we approve the.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara. Been moved and second. You heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. Item 6 on the agenda is the approval of consent items. Alderwoman Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent items. The minute of October the 1st, 2018 special meeting, North Carolina DOT mowing agreement, resolution 2018-12, designation of applicant agent, as well as budget amendment, Spring Lake Chamber of Commerce.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
I'd like to second that motion.
It has been moved and second the approval of the consent items. The minutes of October 1st, 2018 special meeting, NCDOT mowing agreement, resolution 2018-12, designation of applicant agents, and budget amendment by the Spring Lake Chamber of Commerce. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. For the public forum, we have one person signed up, Mr. Tony Burgess, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Board. My name's Tony Burgess, 208 North Main Street. I own Burgess Boxing and Fitness. I have a boxing show this Saturday at the Rec Center, and I have tickets for y'all.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. 18.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Thank you.
Show starts at 5 o'clock, doors open up at 4. Hope to see everybody there.
Thank you.
The question was asked about Troop 713, and I didn't have all the answers. Who is the troop leader? We would like to at least, if you step to the podium, please. You were here in time to sign in, but I didn't sign in, so you may step to the podium. Thank you all so much.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm the den leader for the Aero Light den for the Pack 713, the Cub Scout pack out of Sprout Springs. With me, I have Kyle and Landon, 2 of our scouts. And it's part of our requirement to come visit with you guys, and they have a few questions they'd like to ask if you guys don't mind.
Okay. Ms. Wells smiles and gives us.
Yeah, they're a little shy, so I apologize.
What is your most important responsibility?
Are you speaking to me, sir?
Yes.
My most important responsibility is caring for the affairs of all of the citizens of Spring Lake. We were elected by a majority vote, and it is our responsibility to provide for all of their needs as best we can.
What background or introduction prepared you for this job?
Well, I first of all got my college degree in science, and then I got a master's degree in administration. And then in 2015, I was elected to the Board of Alderman. As a matter of fact, I sat in this seat right here. And my peers elected me as Alderman, Mayor Pro Tem. And then when the previous mayor decided not to run, I was recruited, and folks asked me, why shouldn't I better? And so, motivated by my desire and my lifelong ambition of being a public servant, for me it was a natural fit to seek the office of mayor. I taught school for 40 years, and I really enjoyed that meeting and working with people. Long answer is,
He was a great teacher, too.
Why did you want to be a government leader?
I was born and raised in Spring Lake, and this is my home. And the wonderful things that have gone on in my hometown, I wanted to make sure that we continue those great and wonderful things.
How can citizens help you be more effective?
Well, I think, first of all, I thank you all. I thank you all for coming and very quickly agreeing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I think when citizens share with us their concerns, and not only share, but help us find solutions to the problems that this town faces, I think that can make us more effective. When we work together as a team, and I'm sure that you all learned our teamwork as scouts, then we can always be more effective. You all know very well that it takes 5 guys on the same team on the basketball court. You know, you heard the saying, one band, one sound. So I'm pretty sure that you can translate what we do on this board. You know, 6 members who are all on the same page. We may not always agree, but we don't have to be disagreeable because we're all here to serve the interests of those who elected us.
What is the biggest challenge facing our community?
Right now, the biggest challenge is the result of Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Matthew. We still have some families and homes that have not been fully restored, and it's going to be a long process, but that's our biggest challenge right now.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, young men and women. All right. The Mayor Pro Tem said I'm selfish, guy. But I didn't hear you ask him any questions. But thank you all so much. You're not just the future, you are the present. And we're here because of you guys, and we want to make this a better place for you all to live, work, and play. At this time, we have a presentation from Ms. Zeta Pachado. Would you step forward, please? Tell us who you are and why you're here.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Zeta Pachado, and I'm the person in charge right now of the Compare Foods project in Spring Lake. Yes, I don't know if you can see me before, but yes, I'm the person in charge right now. Thank you for your invitation to this meeting. For us, really a pleasure. And the only thing that we want to inform you is that we are working so hard and we are trying to move forward as soon as we can. Right now we have not complete all the inspections, but we are looking for to have the final inspection, and we are expecting to open in December. It's not like an estimate date because when we are moving, some details appear, but we are working so hard, and we are receiving all of the support from the city. This is including the guy that is sit down in front. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And any question that you have, I'm usually come here to the store or the location every day, just in case you need any extra information that you want to know. You feel free to contact me right there, or my personal information is not a problem. I can give you any information. But for us, it's a pleasure, and it will be a pleasure serve you in the Spring Lake City.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Christian.
I'm so happy to hear that. I was just talking about that earlier this evening. When do you expect to put out an advertisement for hiring?
Well, we prefer probably around 2 or 3 weeks before. We have a lot of application because we're beginning receiving application. We have a lot. And we're going to have a space in the shopping center. Mr. Burnett going to bring us like an office that we can make all of the interviews there. But we're going to do on time that all of the person that is interested to get a job with us, they're going to have the chance to get it.
Muy bien.
Okay, gracias.
Alderwoman Cooper.
Anything else? Any question?
I just wanted to say I'm excited for you all to come. I've been shopping at your location on Bonanza for several years, so I'm just ready for you to come.
Okay, we know that. We're going to be with you all the way soon.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. How many individuals are you looking to employ?
How many?
How many persons are you looking to employ?
We are probably we are comparing like the same employees that we have in Bonanza right now. Will be around 50 or 55 employees we're going to have. It's not including the administration. We just the plant.
Right.
It would be around 50 or 55. Because, by the way, in Bonanza we don't have any fresh fish department, and in this store we're going to have one. So it's an extra department.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Economic development.
Any other? Thank you so much. We really appreciate that update. One more presentation, and then I will be off the hot seat. We have a young man I spoke with just last week, and I really had to thank him for what he did, and I referred to him as a hero. And he said, "No, I'm not a hero." But when one saves and puts his life or her life in danger to try to save someone, he does become a hero. So if Mr. Michael Cornelius would come forward, and Lord, I need you to stand with me because this is not about Larry Dodson, this is about what he did in Spring Lake. And we'll go down and meet him. I don't know if you all saw the rescue of the gentleman and his friend who was trying to cross the bridge on McCormick Road, and they were almost taken over the bridge into the water rushing south. He and two friends of his put their lives and their safety in peril to save those. And it's on video, and I think it's probably nationally televised. So he didn't wait for the Zodiac to come. They went in the water themselves, and they saved the two people. Two of them, I think we might know.
Yes.
Yes.
He's a paramedic in the military.
Yes.
Mike Wolf.
Yes.
Another guy, John Gillis.
Okay.
I got in contact with him from Burger King.
Okay.
And make sure that they appreciate it.
Okay. Good job. So this plaque is presented to Michael Cornelius for your selfless act of heroism during Hurricane Florence. Thank you, and this is from the town of Spring Lake. He says he's not a hero, but he is.
Get it better. I can't see the two people in front of you.
You can come on.
I'll
second
say
it.
that. I got to stand in front of the shortest one.
He's big hero.
And I'm gonna give him a shameless plug. He's an awesome car detailer as well.
All right. I'll send it.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be okay. I want to pay you some other people. Look at I'll be better in about a week.
At this time, let us now hear from Mr. Tony McNeil and the members of the Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The economic development team is here tonight, and we'd like to give you a brief update. I have with me Ms. Lindsay Alderman and Mr. Teddy Warner. Ms. Alderman?
All right. Hello, good evening. I'm Lindsay Alderman, as the Vice President of Operations here with Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development. As Tony had mentioned, we're here to give you an update, just a brief background. The town of Spring Lake and our office got together a few months ago because we saw that you were in need of an economic development director. And we decided that that would be a conversation to start about how we can leverage our skills and our talents with our organization and support what y'all are doing up here. And the resources were leveraged, and I think you found a very great candidate here. Our program of work that we decided in the contract is to really develop an economic development strategy for the town of Spring Lake, completing a comprehensive inventory of all the sites and products, the buildings that you have available. We're going to be marketing the town of Spring Lake. We are going to be providing marketing materials and facilitating economic development opportunities to the town. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Teddy Warner, who's part of your core project team.
Thank you, Mayor and Board, for letting us present to you tonight, and the opportunity to work for you is a privilege as well. Just briefly introduce our team. Robert Van Gans, I'm sure you guys have met him before, as our president and CEO. He couldn't make it here tonight. And I'm Teddy Warner, like Lindsay mentioned. I'm the Director of Business Development for the city and the county. And we wanted to be here tonight to just show our support, not only of you, but for Tony McNeil, who's the face of our team up here in Spring Lake. And we're excited to work with you. And at this point, let's go over a little bit more about what we're doing. We'll mention the rest. So you met Lindsay and Kathy Johnson. Her role in our organization is to work with existing businesses. And she's already got relationships with a few businesses up here in Spring Lake. And we'll be continuing to work with Tony and Kathy and the team here in Spring Lake to try to support business however we possibly can. And Jimmy Abatel is our marketing manager. A lot of the marketing materials and things that we do are based out of our office as well. And this is a list that, in the essence of time, I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but we like to show off the partners that we are collaboratively working with all the time. And that in some cases, we work with a lot of different organizations on a list like this. It just depends on the project and what we're working on. And I guess that's the message behind this is that, to the mayor, to his point earlier, is we are one team. And as we work together, we're going to be more successful. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McNeil for the rest of this presentation.
Thank you, Teddy. A lot of times we ask ourselves, and hopefully everybody can hear me at this point, what is economic development? So in the traditional sense, economic development is a process by which a city, county, state, or nation improves the well-being of its people. In layman's terms, what that means is that when you see new businesses, new industry, the tax base is increased, and jobs are created. That's economic development. Some folks may ask, what does it take to bring economic development to Spring Lake? And I would say, I'm glad you asked that question. It's a very simple formula. Available product plus available workforce equals jobs, jobs, jobs. Now, what do I mean by available product? Sites that have been identified with infrastructure. Also, industrial buildings. And what you'll see up top is a what we call a spec building or a build-to-suit building. It's actually built with the specs that a company may look for and may require. The other buildings are existing buildings. When we look at this land, it's identified as either county-owned or privately owned. So if it's privately owned, a lot of times what we do is we go out and what we're doing right now, we're currently working with property owners to identify the price and the availability of the land. So what does that mean for Spring Lake? We've identified 12 sites here in Spring Lake and 4 buildings. These sites are sites that are identified for industrial development. It ranges from anywhere from 2 acres to 120 acres. One of the sites, or one of the buildings that we're looking at, that's the largest building, is the Walmart building that's in the Northwind Shopping Plaza. About 40,000 square feet. We submitted this building for 4 projects so far. And these projects have jobs that range from 400 to 600 jobs. So we're very active right now in terms of recruiting industry for the available buildings. You know, the other reason why we look at why Spring Lake, here's the reason why. Okay? You have the youngest workforce in North Carolina, about 30 years old. You have about 100,000 people in terms of your workforce when you add the military spouses, and also the folks that are here in Spring Lake. Now here's the other thing. The town of Spring Lake has a population of about 13,000 people, but in a 60-mile radius, there's 3 million people. Think about that for a minute. You also have education facilities. Fayetteville State, Methodist, Fayetteville Tech. Here's the other thing as to why Spring Lake. The close proximity to the military base. Fort Bragg, its workforce, its assets. You have 2 major highways, Highway 87 and Highway 210. The existing infrastructure, the low cost of living, which equates to low cost of doing business. Proximity to educational and workforce facilities. Here's another reason why. Your proximity to Fayetteville. Fayetteville has 10 exits off of I-95, which is the major corridor between New York and Miami. You're also within a day's drive of more than two-thirds of the population in the United States. That's on this map right here. So that's why Spring Lake. Here's another reason why. You're 1 hour away from an international airport in RDU, in Raleigh. 17 miles away from Fayetteville's airport. You have Class 1 rail. Your short line is connected to Class 1 rail. What does that mean? Rail is 4 to 5 times more efficient than shipping by truck. So that affects the bottom line. So what I'm saying to you is you can travel 4 times as far moving freight on 1 gallon of gas by train than you can by truck. You're within an hour and 40 minutes of the Port of Wilmington. That's another reason why. Why Spring Lake? Let's talk a little bit more about why Spring Lake. Community college campus, School of Nursing. The community center that we have over here, that's a valuable asset. Parks and recreation. The fact that Spring Lake is a tight-knit community. And also a preserved Main Street corridor. One of the other things, I think, Mayor, you may have used this analogy, and I'd like to piggyback off this analogy. You know, we've had some challenges in terms of DOT and some of the road designs. But I think we have an opportunity to take lemons and turn it into lemonade. The other thing I want to show you as well is this North Carolina core. When you look at these stars on this map here, this represents megasites. These are sites that are over 1,000 acres that are looking to recruit mega industries. You take BMW in South Carolina, Mercedes, folks like that. So OEMs, which is original equipment manufacturers. You see how close, in close proximity we are to these mega sites. And Spring Lake is somewhere down here just before you get to Fayetteville. You look at the educational facilities and the airports that are in close proximity, the international airports and the rail, all on that back. So we're in the center of everything. I'd like to refer, if someone were to ask where is Spring Lake, I would say somewhere midway between success and opportunity. You look at this map. Let's talk about our path forward. Here's some activities that are planned for the future. Peer partner meetings to share the knowledge and to understand lessons learned with your peers, with the county, and with the city. Economic Development 101, so we understand how to win as a team. The role of elected officials in economic development. Incentives and structuring incentive packages. Product development tools. Now this will be done so we can visit and understand what we have in our region and in our community. So we're going to take some trips to Fayetteville and the surrounding region. But we're also going to study our competition so we can understand what they're doing as well. We also look forward to providing updates in the future to council. And in closing, I'd like to leave you with a few words, because oftentimes small towns ask, how can we get an economic development? What do we have to do? And I'd like to leave you with a few words. If you do what you've always done, then you'll get what you've always gotten. So when you know better, you do better. It's not how you start, but it's how you finish. So with that being said, Mayor, members of council, our team would like to thank you for allowing us to serve Spring Lake in the economic development capacity. And at this time, we'd like to take some questions if you have.
I heard a knock.
I really enjoyed the way you presented yourself and the organization. But you sold yourself right there. I'm kind of curious. Been around a couple of days. You got anything in the pot right now?
Yes, sir. We're very active. We have a lot of things going on. We have projects that we're, submitting for. And as I said, we've identified 12 sites for industrial development here in Spring Lake. So we're very aggressive.
Well, I would assume that there was something in the pot. You were going to tell me anyway.
When the time's right.
When the time is right. we are very active, and the answer to your question is yes. And we will be able to give more information here in the near future of exactly what we're working on. But we are working on increasing the tax base and bringing more jobs to Spring Lake. But we want to, more importantly, we want to start and end everything with the conversations. We want to work as a team. We don't only want to just tell you that things should be better. We want to show you what our competition is doing. We want to show you what is going on in our region. So when we talk about industrial parks, when we talk about speculative buildings, when we talk about economic development, those are not just words. I'm a visual guy, as you can tell from my presentation. I like pictures. So I'd like for the council at separate periods of time to actually go and see with me those things that we're talking about of what we hope to be. Because in order for us to win when we're competing, we have to understand our competition. And that's what we hope to bring to the table here in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I have some statements. I am
I love that presentation. And whenever you get ready for a road trip, I'm ready to go. I love it. I think this is the first time really since I've been on this board that I really got excited about what economic development can do for the town of Spring Lake. This is my heart here, so I am totally excited. So if you want to ride tomorrow at 9, I'm ready.
Thank you, Alderwoman Jackson.
Alderwoman Cooper, please. Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I did have a question. When you say you've identified 12 sites, are they all in Spring Lake proper, or
Yes.
are they in Spring Lake proper?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, in order to help answer that, he was hired by the town of Spring Lake. Yes. Alderwoman Sutherland, and then the gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Warren, I attended your economic development that we had at the Crown Coliseum. I am the lady who was talking about the diamond in the rough. And I asked you, I said, Sarah, I've been hearing this now, I've been on this board for 14 years, and every time I went to a meeting, a conference, they always said Spring Lake was the diamond in the rough. So I stood up and I asked, when is that diamond going to start shining? So to say that we had a workshop when we all was newly elected, and Mr. McNeil, I stated that if you always think the same old way, you get the same old result. It's in our minutes. So I can compare what you're saying, and I always talk about networking, because if we don't come out of Spring Lake and not think about what the surrounding areas are doing, you get the same old result. So with teamwork and team building, that's how we learn from one another, other municipalities. And that's what our Chamber of Commerce, because we've tried different avenues with the economic development. We've had our own. So when I ran, I stated that we need our own economic development individual. So I am glad that when we talk about it, I like to see stuff come to fruition. And to say what Mr. McNeil, I've received several different phone calls about you. You're out there in the community, and they've all been positive. So I always say you have to want to be here in Spring Lake. A lot of people say we love Spring Lake. You got to want to be here in Spring Lake to make a difference, to leave a legacy when you leave. Because we can just sit on this board to have a title or whatever, but we're looking for the next generation to be big and make it the diamond in the rough, and it finally starts shining. So great presentation. We look forward to continue to work with you all as a team that will continue to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to echo my colleagues' thoughts and sentiments. That's exactly how I feel. And very professional. And I could tell you guys are really professional individuals. And we're looking forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
While they were returning to their seat, Ms. Eaton, who is our Chamber of Commerce president for the Spring Lake area, is not able to be here tonight, but she left word with Mr. Gerald, and he has mentioned, please make this announcement, that on Saturday, there will be 7 new businesses that she will be doing ribbon cuttings for. So when we met last Thursday, the conversation in conference with the mayor, Mr. McNeil and Ms. Eaton came together to demonstrate how the economic development and the Chamber of Commerce can work together. And they both had a great exchange of ideas and our movement forward. So again, thank you all. I'm sorry.
Did you say what time those ribbon cuttings are on Saturday?
She didn't tell me what time, but I will put it in the manager's report. And if I find out tomorrow, I will go ahead and put it on the Facebook page and the website.
Thank you.
I might get a text.
I can send that too.
Okay. Again, thank you all. Mr. Watson.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm glad I gave you a hard copy because I don't think you can see what's on the board tonight.
Before you begin, that is an upgrade from what we had.
I didn't say that.
It may be difficult for you to see, but that is an upgrade.
It's a real color.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Tonight is I want to present the quarterly update, and everything is looking very well in County Spring Lake. If you take a look at the general fund, and what I'm talking about is the sheets on the board, but also this sheet in front of you right after the memo. If you take a look at the current year, 18-19 of September, we're at 22.74% for the first quarter for expenditures. And I know we have a long agenda tonight, so I'll try to be quick as possible. If you compare that to last year, we're at 21.21%. A little bit higher than last year, but the first quarter, you should be around 25%. So we're below the average. And after I finish my presentation, I'll give you some numbers that's included in these numbers. That's part of the hurricane expenses. Okay. Also, for the revenues for the general fund, to the far right columns, we're at 16.91% year-to-date collections. And as a reminder to the board members, the general fund is basically mostly property taxes, so that will usually crosses over to the positive in November, 1st of December, ranging graphic. Last year this time, which is not on your sheet, we're at 15.31%, so we're ahead of where we were last year for the same time with general fund revenues. If you have any questions, I'll go to the next one. The next one is water and sewer, and as a reminder, water and sewer is a more stable fund where it's more cash flow every month is about the same based on prior years and so forth, since we get tax collections on an average normal basis. The expenses there year to date through September 17.69%. The revenues are 27.31%. So we're ahead of expenses year to date for that fund. Last year, the revenues were 26.01%. So again, we're a little bit ahead of where we were last year at this time. For stormwater fund, we're at 15.12% year to date through September. The revenues were 13.57. Last year we were about 14.49%, about the same. For sanitation fund, we're 18.08% for year to date, below the average of 25. Revenues at 4.89%. Last year we were around 10, and that's sanitation is one where we bill for the commercial customers, which normally comes in right at the end of December range, and also just got property taxes on the property tax bills that the county sends out. We get that the same cycle when we get a lot of the property tax revenues. Then the last item, operating fund, is the fleet fund. And again, the fleet fund, as I say each time, that's an internal service fund where all the other operating funds feed that fund. So that's why you do not see any revenues attributed to that. It's based on transfers and so forth that's built into the budget. But year to date through September, we're at 30.92%, which is a little higher than the 25, and that's due to a couple items that I think they had a police vehicle that had some damage and something else. But we are watching that every month. The manager and I go over all the operating funds to make sure where we are, and we can kind of keep track of those. So all said and done for all operating funds, we're 20.91% year to date. That's normally be around 25%, so that looks good. And then on the revenues, we're 19.06%. Last year we're 18.03, so we're still ahead of the game for revenues. So any questions on this spreadsheet?
Alderman Cooper.
Yes, thank you. Shouldn't our operating expenses be a little elevated because of Florence, or did that money go somewhere?
When I finish the next sheet, I'm gonna go back to that, and I'll tell you what's embedded in some of these numbers.
Okay.
The next sheet is the, I'm sorry.
Light's not working.
Under the fleet,
Yes, ma'am.
the capital overlay,
Yes, ma'am.
shouldn't there be a total in here?
Not for, there is no capital outlay for the fleet that's in the fleet fund. Any capital outlay, say for instance, for the police departments in the general fund.
Okay, so it's, for the fleet. Okay, we don't have any capital outlay amounts under the sewage, water. There's no total in any of them. The water and sewage, stormwater. And we've utilized that capital outlay to purchase, it was not in the budget, but we have utilized it to purchase different items out of the capital outlay.
Under stormwater, Ms. Sutherland, there has been not any capital outlay items that identified as capital outlay in the stormwater fund for the last 2 years. Prior to the 17-18, when we bought that big truck, I can't remember the name of it right now, about $500,000 range.
Right. Yes.
That was a capital budget item in that particular budget that year. But we haven't had any capital outlays since that time.
Under the stormwater.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
stormwater or sanitation, either one. The sanitation, you know the sanitation, what that is, that's the payments on that vehicle that I just spoke about. The clamshell truck is coming back to me.
She had a question about the police cars, capital outlay. How would that be delineated out?
Okay, on the capital outlay, if you notice under general fund, the police department is a general fund operating item. The fleet fund is just for the operations on vehicles, for maintenance and so forth, and repair. Any capital outlay for the police department is a general fund item. You'll notice for the 18-19 year, the $66,000 for the budget, they spent $38,988 through September.
Okay. Any other
Second, but I'll come back.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you. On the investment earnings sheet is the one you see, it's similar to that, it's on the board. For summary, last year we were at $4,329,433.34. This year we're at $4,242,960.89. Approximately 80-some thousand dollars. So I can attribute what the difference is. When we paid for the splash pad, we wrote them a check of $126,000 to Carolina Recreation. So that's one of the items, the difference we didn't have last year. That was part of that cash flow. So ultimately, you're really ahead of the game based on those numbers. Also, last year, we were involved with when we bought the other land for the splash pad across the street from there. The net effects of that we had an expenditure for that land as well as hidden revenues from the water contract from many years ago. That also made a difference. For the yield, and I was speaking about a year and a half ago, I did on my presentation, the dot chart presentation where I showed where the Federal Reserve Board did the votes, and they said what the rates were going to be going up. Well, that's what's happening. If you notice the yield on the BB&T money market account at 0.90%, and it went up right at the end of September, and it continues to go up. If you go back a few years ago, it was probably a third of that. The capital management trust accounts, what's called the government portfolio, and the term portfolio, they both have gone up probably at least double, if not 75% in the last 2 years of what we were earning. That all being said, you compare the monthly earnings for each of those items from to the prior year, you'll see that they're up except for the money market checking account. The reason is because I'm trying to keep a larger balance in the higher returning items so we get more money for the town. So ultimately, the total for the monthly earnings for September itself was $5,637.55, where prior year was $3,096.91. Any questions on the investment earnings report?
Any questions? Thank you.
And then the last thing I'll go over before I go back to the Hurricane Matthew Florence items is the next one is the BB&T Business Services card use. And you notice I'm going to show you the totals, then I arrived at you in your handout the backup to that, because if we try to scan and send those in, you would need a magnifying glass to see. But you can see the total, and I'll go up very quickly. The period from June 1st to July 2nd was 22 uses of the card at $2,388.66. And remember, these are department cards, not individual cards any longer. Next item for July 2nd to August 2nd, 56 transactions with the item $3,618.06 in dollar amount. Then for August 2nd through September 4th, 54 transactions with expenditures of $8,043.73. Total for that quarter was 132 transactions at $14,050.45. Now, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them if you like tomorrow, after the meeting. Each one of these sheets behind that match up with each month based on how much each card, how many transactions they were, where they purchased it, what the purpose was. But in total, if you take a look at that compared to last year, and last year, we had two different types of purchases we were comparing to. The standard, and it's no longer not to a vocabulary, a purchasing card, as well as the standard BB&T card use general one. But if you take a look at total, for that grand total for that quarter, we had 209 transactions and spent $34,953.70. So I think the board's actions a year or so ago to proceed in trying to watch our spending on the P card is proof in the pudding here of 132 transactions compared to 209, and the dollar amount of $14,000 compared to $34,000. We are cutting more checks, obviously, but that's a different opportunity. And then I provide in my weekly report how many checks we cut by AP in each time. Unless you have some questions, I'll be glad to hear a little bit now on some of the hurricane expenditures that we have. Find my spreadsheet. Okay.
What would you purchase at a record shop? Is that like record players back in the day?
Does it say the purpose of it? So which one are you looking at?
On that second page, normally we ask.
Which month?
It's 1, 2, 3, got the 6th one down, it says record shop. And
iPad software.
It says if you go on update of iPad software.
Yes, ma'am. See, that's how BB&T or any bank, anybody use card, their what they call a master credit card description. That's how it was embedded in their system. That's not anything that I come up with.
So you ask for them?
Everything is I download on from an Excel spreadsheet from their software down. Then we match that up with the purpose of what we already have before they purchase it with the business service card checkout sheet, and then when they bring the receipts back.
So when you take, employee, board member, when you utilize and you go on, an educational trip to be more training, what do they have to bring back? So it can correspond.
I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, Ms. Webb signs up for a class for you to the school government. She will register you with the proper, most likely administration card.
Right, because normally we used to have a card that we take with us. Okay.
Now, do we have what they call administration card for the administrative area? That includes the governing body. She would use that card to register you for that class. Normally that class maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 2 or 3 months, whatever, out. And when you go to that class, you could check out that card and use it on your trip. And you bring your receipts back, you provide those to Ms. Webb, she provides the paperwork to the finance department, and that information shows that it has a purpose on this backup sheet.
So a card, does it have a certain, because when you go, I haven't went in so long, so when you go, the card that you have, Ms. Webb, and it used to be in the box and they have names on them. So now it's just a general card because we stated we didn't want that. And the individual take that card. How many cards is it that the town has?
We have a total of about 20 total.
About 20?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much is loaded on the card?
I think, if I remember correctly, we've got $1,000 on each card except for 3 or 4 that the manager wanted me to have a higher, I could pay for a higher limit. Say, for instance, for the wastewater treatment plant, if they have a major spill, they need to use it immediately. You'd rather them to be able to get access to that through the manager approval than the state coming in and finding the tank. And then the fire department has one that they keep as an emergency, and they only use it in emergency with the manager approval as well as the police department.
All right.
Then all the other cards, there's a checkout form that the department head signs off on by the employee and as well as the manager, myself, and I pre all of that they have funds in that account before they use it. Any other questions? Okay, back to the hurricane expenses. As part of the financial analysis report, we did have some hurricane expenses that are already embedded in here. And for that particular period of time, from July 1st to September 30th, there was a total of $27,997.76 that was hurricane-related expenses. Of that, 26 and 27,000 was incremental payroll, extra payroll that we normally would not have had. That includes salary plus FICA match, 401k match, as well as retirement type match you normally would have. Also, from that point, from October 1st through this morning, we have approximately an additional $149,462.38 that we have encumbered or have spent during that time. And approximately $41,000 is related to payroll, in salaries and benefits and so forth. So that being said, total payroll, hopefully we won't have any more hurricanes. I think hurricane season runs through November 1st. It's $67,149.22. And the remaining other expenses, $110,310.92, giving you a total of $177,460.14. Now, how that works is on note, I think I'm correct, that note number 8.
That's correct.
Okay. FEMA is planning on coming down on November the 8th. And we're going to, as I call it, do the dog and pony show to them. To show them everything, all the damage, even the drone video of what happened, of all town property that was damaged. Also, the League Municipalities representative has been here. He will be coming back. The person they work with is a fellow named Jim Finley. And how it's supposed to work, how it normally works, is what insurance, our insurance does not pay, which includes deductibles and so forth, the state and FEMA are supposed to pick up the difference. So we should be made whole based on how it works in past years. Is that the total we will spend for the hurricane? Most likely not. I haven't seen some of those bills yet, but we don't know what they will be, but I'll keep the manager informed of what's going on, and he can provide that to you as well.
Now, when we take those sometimes we turn into vacation. It used to be vacation when it was going to California, but thanks to the mayor, we cut that out. Because we want to try to make sure they're local when the individual goes for training. Do we look for the most economic hotels, or do we just go to the hotels we want because the money's there?
I don't get involved in that, Ms. Sullivan.
What do we do, Ms. Webb? What pattern do you see individuals utilizing taxpayer dollars? Is it the most economic hotel that's nice? And I know you used to make the reservation, or do we go to a 5-star hotel?
A lot of times it's the hotel that's hosting the conference, because you're right there at the conference.
Right.
But there have been individuals who would make their own reservations. But if I'm looking for the hotel and there's not, the conference is say at a convention center or something, then I would look for a reasonable hotel.
Right.
I don't go to the top dollar.
Ms. Sullivan, I would say this, in some instances, if you are going to a larger city,
right,
and let's say, for instance, the hotel where the conference is located, maybe a little bit more, and you're looking somewhere else, y'all also have to remember, you're staying at not a lower end hotel, but a cheaper hotel. How much will it cost you to park, drive in, back and forth each day? Because it may end up costing you more by doing that and just stay at that hotel and pay that parking. That will maybe free, maybe less.
Yes, sir.
That's a different thing.
I'm aware of that as well. But I'm just trying to see, I know normally if the event is at that hotel, we're recommended to stay at that hotel if it's not full. And I just wanted to know, the reason why we ask for this is to make sure that our revenue is staying comfortable with the hotels. Of course, we don't want just any hotel, but we still don't want the high-end hotels because the funds are there, and we're just going to do that. Okay. So you still making those reservations as well?
Yes, I'll make most of them.
Thank you.
Any questions, any more questions?
You get ready to leave the podium. I want to put you on notice. Now, don't lie. But you got a nice piece of money coming in. Once you finish with these people, I'm looking at the roads out there, streets. We've been doing a lot of those gravel down and makeshift patchwork now. And the roads are actually doing like this here. And what I'm trying to say, I think it's time to put some money on the side. And I'm planning to use the roads next year. And you're the man with the money.
Well, I'll keep track of the money, but thank the board to all to give me and the manager correction for that.
I mean, don't blame it on me. Because I'm letting you know right now, we don't need probably about, we get half the town, that's what, about 150,000. So how much you say you're getting, 170 something? Yeah, probably.
I will say about hurricane damage, I know I go on a lot of roads close to, in fact, Mayor Pro Tem's house, there's a bad place there, and some other places. Matter of fact, there was some damage to a vehicle that the town is having to pay for because after the washout, some of the substances got washed away, and it tore the bumper off and it broke an axle. I've got pictures. So that was something that, and we're going to file that as a hurricane expense. I've talked to the league about it. We're going to go and pay it as a claim, but we'll put that in the hurricane file as well. And that's not the only place. I've heard in numerous other places that we're going to file as hurricane expenses to repatch and refix those particular roads.
It's time to get away from patching now. It's time to start resurface.
If I remember correctly, Mayor Pro Tem, the last, I think you did an installment financing before I got here with 1.5 million.
Right.
That's what it was. I think it was in like 12, 13 range when it was done.
Actually, it was done 8 years ago.
Okay, 2010.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, new business, we're down to 9A, Police Department Vehicle Lease Update, Mr. Hankins.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, you all will recall that when you discussed the proposed police department vehicle lease matter at your previous meeting, you asked me to review the documents and do some research and report back to you. I've completed that review. I have, if you think back to the materials that the gentleman from Enterprise and the finance director gave you during the discussion, you recall there was a list of cities that have entered into this lease agreement with Enterprise for police vehicles. One of those is the city of Fayetteville. I have talked with the Fayetteville city attorney and police attorney, and they are satisfied with the arrangement. They've had no issues or problems, certainly nothing of legal concern to the city attorney or the police attorney. We did, and the documents involved are two: a master lease agreement, and then every time the town leases an individual vehicle, there will be a lease agreement for that vehicle. There's nothing unusual or of concern in either of those agreements. We did ask for one change, which Enterprise agreed to. As presented, the documents said that they would be construed under Missouri law. We don't want that. We're in North Carolina. We want to be under North Carolina law, so that they've agreed to that change. And with that change, I am prepared to approve the documents and the leasing arrangement as to legal form, and clearly the town has authority. There are some provisions in the agreement that need to be there to make the agreements comply with North Carolina law, and they're there. Mr. Watson, as the finance director, has done the financial review and has calculated the savings, so I'll leave that to him. But from a legal perspective, I have no concerns, and I'm ready to recommend approval strictly from a legal perspective.
All right, so action is needed, except to for the manager to. It's not okay. No. Okay, 9B, the budget ordinance amendment. Mr. Gerald.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, or Council, Spring Lake. I have before you three positions that I want to change in the public works, organization of the town. What we have is before you the public works position, the director of street sanitation position, and building and maintenance technician. What I want to do in this position is rename the public works position as a town engineer. What we're looking at, public works here in the town has just taken over so many different facets of the town, and we're deconstructing that position. So long story short, what we're doing, we're renaming that position as town engineer solely to keep that pay grade so that we can recruit in a town engineer. The buildings and grounds director position, I'm saying to just rename that as the public works director position, and then rename the maintenance tech as a specialist. So this can happen with no pay increases. The reason why I didn't ask for the position to be added, I didn't want to kind of infer that we were asking for more funds to fund these positions. These positions are already pre-existing. So we're just renaming.
Before any motion, yes, let's entertain questions. Alderwoman Jackson.
The manager. We're going to rename the public works position to the town engineer position. Is that what you're saying? Is the public work position a town engineer?
No. It all depends on the different type of communities you go to. Usually, like in a larger town, a public works director may have more education requirements, they may be over that many positions, but here it's already broken down. You already have somebody here over the water resources that's a college graduate. So there's no need to have a director over another director.
Okay, but he's going to be named the town engineer, so that means he's going to be a town engineer. See, I have a problem with us putting names and titles over positions that are not matching.
Well, let me show you. So the town engineer would be more so over the project. So this would include like the splash pad, walking trail, sidewalk improvements, economic development, that sort of thing, and also inspections.
Would he do contracts and stuff like that?
Right, he would be doing contracts. They would present the contract.
Okay, so that position that we're changing, the person that's in that position now, is he qualified to do all of that he's supposed to, that he's saying that the town engineer is supposed to do?
The town engineer would be a vacant position, so we would have to recruit for that.
So then we don't need a name public works back then if we have to recruit for it then, right?
Well, I think it's a little confusing. You don't have to rename the buildings and grounds director. You can leave it the way it is if you so choose so.
I think we should leave all of it the way it is until, if you're gonna make a public works person, the person in charge of doing town engineer stuff, then the person who's in charge of the public works should have town engineer credentials, yes. And if they don't have it, then they don't need the name, the title. The title needs to, because this is my concern. If a town engineer is supposed to be somebody high and special, right?
Right.
So next year when we get ready to do this stuff all over again, he's gonna want to be paying town engineer money when he's not a town engineer.
That's exactly what I'm trying not to do. So that's exactly what I'm trying not to do. So the pay grade for the public works official here is astronomically high for a public works director here. Now for the public works director in Fayetteville or Raleigh, it may be on par, but for here it's high. But for an engineer, that's about what you would pay. Once you turn that position into an engineer position, then we would actively recruit a town engineer.
Okay, so what are you gonna do with the person that's in public works now?
Right, we just leave him. Just leave that as the buildings and grounds director, as he already is.
So why don't we just have a separate position for the town engineer?
That's exactly what I did. So what I did was I didn't ask for a new town engineer position because it would infer that we didn't have the funds to pay for it. But we do. The funds are as a public works director. So we're turning the public works director into a town engineer. The position underneath that, which is the person or the position that's picking up the trash in the town, to keep down confusion, we can just keep that name the same.
Okay.
And then, so what you're doing is that you're going. So I'm going to actively go out and recruit a town engineer and pay him the public works salary, and we don't have to ask to fund a position.
Okay, now this is where my confusion comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Coonan, he held the public works and the town engineer position, right?
Right. Well, there was no town engineer. He just was public works.
But he added on to the flavor because he was a town
Right,
engineer.
because he was an engineer. So what we did, I segregated out all the public works functions, like making sure debris was picked up, making sure the road had a patch in it, making sure just the day-to-day cleanliness of the town. I took that away from him, and I put the projects of the splash pad He got the grant for the walking trail, sidewalk improvements. He was looking at the making a map of our infrastructure so that we can do the economic development, because you may have to upsize some lines. So that's engineering work. Spring Lake is at the point to where they need a town engineer. So what we can do just to keep the confusion down, if you just grant me the town engineer position and change the maintenance tech to a maintenance specialist, I think we can achieve it. That'll give you what you want.
I don't want to make everybody's job difficult, but I'm not completely 100% understanding. So is this where I say I'm going to table it? Is that right?
Before you do that, let me also ask town manager, the written job description. Has that been written out?
Right, we do have the written job description for
the town engineer.
And his or her responsibilities. Okay. And we have it for the public works. Don't worry about public works. Let's not even think about it. Just the town engineer, we have that.
Well, but the public works now, you have that here in Reagan, which you are looking for the renaming.
Right. So we're going to what I want to do is I want to rename the town engineer, rename the public works director position to the town engineer, and then rename the director of streets and grounds to public works. But never mind that second step if it's confusing. I just wanted to do it in a way that you just didn't end up making it confusing. But this does not cost us any more money. It's the same funds. It's the same funds for the position. It's no more money. It's the same funds.
I would like to see an organizational chart as well as the job descriptions, because this is you're just giving us a name and a number and a title, and it doesn't really give us much. It's like there's not any meat on here. We just have names and numbers and not enough information to make a decision on this.
Alderman Southern and then Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
Basically, most everything has been said, but you have this director of public works. We do need an engineer, which is qualified with specifications when they go out and do an inspection. So when you go and name a public works, they have to go out according to the job description. They're supposed to go out and do the inspections as well. So what you did when you split this up, they're not even qualified for what this job title states. So to say that, again, it's been repeated, later on, since you give them this job title, it's director and we don't always have to, it's going to affect us because you said there's no money, but you put the job title there. We do need an engineer. We need somebody with a specification, which we need to advertise for to make sure they have those qualifications to go out and inspect the buildings. But when we move somebody up and a director, they're not qualified to do what a director of public works job description states. So everything has been said, and it says the streets and groundwork and the sanitation is normally here, and the individual who you put in the position have a qualification. And I just want to say something. When we move these positions, we did have a hurricane. We need to take in consideration that our streets are still not clean, our grass is still not cut. We live in this community. We see it. I hear it when I go to Walmart, different places, and I just see it myself. So to add on to something that's already not been done in that department, I can just kind of see that why would you give them more responsibility if they're not doing what they should be doing? When they got the position, it was shining a little bit, but now we're just going backwards. So that's what I have to say.
Mayor Pro Tem McGarry, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gerald, I think we had a conversation earlier today, and I'm not going to pass a bunch of laundry on you, but I do feel anytime you come out with something like this here, and you've already said it, disregard the second portion of it, but I don't think you should ever lump these things together like this, when you're talking about different positions. I think you started out and said something about 3 positions. I can understand that. And I usually do understand. But it's kind of like this contract thing, I'm pretty sure would have flown if it came out as a contract. And we're looking for that position. Somebody to fill that position. But the additional stuff in here, that was like having a bucket of apples and throwing a bad apple in there. And we don't want to mess with the bucket right now. So what I would say is, go back to the house, and break this down, and come back. And I'm sure we give you a blessing on the contractor. And Ms. Sutherland said about the town, the appearance, that you gave the reason why it was like that. I didn't like it, but I had to live with it. So, I'm not going to get it there. I'm leaving it there. Thank you. I think you're right.
And I'd also like to add that since we're looking at Appendix A, and it looks like we're trying to revise, I would also say clean some things up. I'm looking here on page 27, grade 49, and there's an IT technician listed there. Was this position not defunded for this fiscal year?
That was one. You funded one of them. We had 2.
We had 2. Okay. He's a technician. Okay. Okay, and the other thing, the other title is grade 50, a center aide. I just need to ask this question. That's on page 27 as well. Are there different responsibilities for one who works at the rec center versus one who works at the senior center? Because it says center aide and they have the same job classification. So again, they have the same grade, I'm sorry. Again, with job descriptions, that would help me understand which of these grades would better apply to the 2 different people. Right. And this is all while we're trying to clean this thing up.
I'm not prepared to speak about those jobs because I didn't do any research on those. I'm just prepared to speak about the one that I presented.
Okay. So what is there a motion from the board of consensus? Alderman.
There was a motion.
I make a motion that we table the zoning ordinance amendment.
Didn't Ms. Jackson already make that?
No motion was made. We heard from Mr. Gerald, and then we did the discussion before the motion. Okay, so do your motion again, please.
I make a motion that we table 9B budget ordinance amendment 2018A Appendix A, position classification plan, and Appendix B authorized employee position.
Second. Mayor Pro Tem, second. Moved and second. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor? Alderwoman Sutherland.
I can ask the question.
If you stay unread.
Unread?
She's unread.
Okay, we're talking about tabling it, but I think that what I'm hearing from me, as well as the colleagues, if we table it, we're going to come back to the same thing that he's asking. But I think you said just disregard the 3 positions that you're asking. The motion is on the table, but I would like to see it just stay as it is. Give them extra duty of work to do what they was hired in that position to do, to clean up the town, to do what they're supposed to do, and hire an engineer to replace the qualification that Mr. Cooney had, and just leave this alone.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's
literally what I'm
saying. But y'all
saying.
saying table, because when you table it, you gotta come back
Then I
and do
can-
the same.
Right. I can't hire an engineer. I can't hire an engineer.
So if we just hire an engineer, leave that position, the other positions alone.
Right.
And just hire an engineer, advertise it for a qualified individual.
Right. So if we just would allow me to change the public works to the engineer, I'd be happy. I'd take that tonight.
When you say change the public works, you mean?
Change the title. Change the title.
So instead of, what you come here for was to ask for public works to do this, but now you're saying you're not asking for anything for public works, you're just asking for a engineer.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In other words, this is going to change from Cooney's old position to work.
So it would say, instead of saying Tom Cooney Public Works Director, it'd say Tom Cooney Town Engineer.
The individual who's gonna get hired, you're gonna
Will be an engineer.
Okay, so all this other stuff like the public works,
You could just leave that alone.
we're gonna leave it
Leave that
alone.
alone.
We're gonna replace the position of a qualified engineer. What happened is we did put the public works under Tom Cooney.
Right.
Because it was down there, but the positions, the way they are, they're gonna stay. We need a qualified engineer for our inspection.
Right.
And so, what are you asking us to do?
Exactly what you just said. Take the public works position and just turn it into a town engineer.
But I thought it was already a town.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Tom Cooney was hired not as a public works. We gave that to him.
Tom Cooney was hired as public works, but he brought being an engineer here. So if we do exactly what you said, that'll solve.
And that's just one position.
That's just one position.
That needs to be, that we need, and the other people, we do not give them, but we don't have the job titles and all that, we just hire for that position.
Right. That's right. You were right.
So why don't we just leave it as an engineer?
It never was, because it never was an engineer.
Well, if it's under the job performance as public works, Mr. Cooney was hired as an engineer.
Mr. Cooney was a public works guy.
Yes, right.
Being the fact that he was an engineer in his own spare
Enhanced
time,
it.
he
Enhanced
enhanced the position.
Right.
So what you're saying now is we're gonna keep the position the same, but now we're just gonna add an engineer because Tom Cooney held two positions.
Right.
And now that we can find a qualified person to have the engineer, and then we'll take our public works person, that'd be the second person. What Tom did two, we're gonna have, what Tom did two was only one, now we'll have two.
Right.
Different people instead of that one what Tom Cooney was holding.
That's right.
Because Paul Hoover used to do that same job.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to undo a lot of that.
Right, but what I'm saying, he used to do the public works, and he was the inspector.
Right. The engineer.
He had the qualification.
Tom Cooney.
And that's who we replaced. We replaced,
Excuse me a second. Now, we'll call it, and we'll call it names. I don't know. I don't know. We have called some people's names several times here tonight. I don't know what that would do for us in terms of PR. Now, if someone hears that your name is now broadcast over the United States, no matter good or bad, look at that. Look at what that does for us.
well, they actually had the position, so they can look on the website to see they had the position. So
But
we're
it's not up to us to say it though.
No, it's not up to us to say something that's not came to fruition. And I never said anything about the other individual. I said the people who work for the town.
Hold on.
And,
Hold on. She got the floor. She has the floor.
But anyway, as I stated, when we hired for those positions, they worked for the town, they retired from the town. The name is out there, you can pull it up, anybody can, so it's nothing that I'm saying with those individuals, because they did hire, they were working for the town, I'm just asking about the position. So, if we table it, then we have to come back and do the same thing. I would like to see it, we hire for an engineer with qualifications to go out and do the inspections.
But we have
Okay,
a motion
I've
and
got,
a
I've got it, man. I've got it. It has been moved and seconded that we table. Now, after the motion was second, then we allow for the discussion. Now it's time to take the vote. You heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? And the question is, all in favor of tabling this budget ordinance amendment, make it known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the sign of nay.
Nay.
So there are 4 ayes and 1 nay. So now, according to vote 4-1, it is tabled.
So when we're gonna come back and revisit it, Rhonda, when we table it? Because you gotta have all that.
When it's tabled, you have to bring it back at the next regular.
Exactly. So it's gonna be, it'll come back exactly the way it is, because the only thing we did is just table what we already have.
But that also gives him a chance to get it cleaned up as well. Wasn't it? Because we did ask for a job description and some other things. And it will give us time to think about it, rehash it in our own mind, and come up with perhaps a solution at the next meeting. It does give us time. Okay, let us move to item 9C, Resolution 2018-11, Charter Amendment. That is again Ms. Webb.
Thank you, Mayor and board members. The Military and Veterans Committee has requested to amend their charter. They want to add, on the first page of their charter, it's in red text in your packet. It essentially says that they want to add a Fort Bragg liaison to their membership, and that would be someone who could assist the committee with coordination, information sharing, and messaging to and from Fort Bragg. So I am asking the board to determine if you will allow them to make this change to the charter.
Before a motion, is there any discussion? Because this way, when the motion is made, we will have everything laid out. What page is that, by the way, please?
41.
Okay, thank you. All right, page 41. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or discussion of this issue or this matter? Here none, is there a motion? Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we approve the appointment, the resolution 2018-11 Charter Amendment, Spring Lake Military and Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. You heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by the sign of nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay, 9D.
The next one is, now that you have amended their charter, there is someone who has submitted an application to serve as the Fort Bragg liaison. His name is Jamie Tilka. If you appoint him, he will serve a 3-year term, which will expire October 31st of 2021. He is in the audience tonight if you have questions for him, but he would fill that position that you just approved.
Is there any discussion before the motion?
Yes, a little confused. The position that we just approved and stating, what's our charter, so it won't, the military veteran won't be trying to stack it. Can you kind of go over that, because we talked about that today? And I think you both had talked to them. So we'll
Yes.
understand and the board will understand.
The Military and Veterans Affairs and Advisory Committee has 7 members. And earlier in this year, they came to you and amended the charter so that if a veterans service organization holds its charter, is actively headquartered, or has its host facility and operates inside the town limits of the town of Spring Lake or inside the Spring Lake Municipal Influence Area, that one person from each of those organizations can serve on that committee as well. Because a lot of the committees that are housed in Spring Lake, the people on those, like the VFW and the American Legion, some of those people do not live in Spring Lake. Right. So they wanted to have one member from each of those organizations. So the board approved to amend their charter so that they were allowed to do that. And then they're asking tonight to have a member who is a Fort Bragg representative. And they put in here that the individual filling this position must be an active duty, I guess SM is Sergeant Major, or I don't know what that stands for.
Sergeant Major.
Or an Army Reservist, National Guardsman, or IRR member who is on active duty orders assigned to Fort Bragg and whose primary responsibility as a member of the committee is to assist the committee with coordination, information sharing, and messaging to and from Fort Bragg. So if that person should have to PCS somewhere other than Fort Bragg, then they would automatically come off of the roster, and it would leave it open for that committee to submit to the Board of Aldermen someone else to continue to fill that space.
So we're changing our charter. That's what the first,
Yes.
to have, because they have to be in the municipality, in the area. The charter's on the board.
The charter says all of our board appointed committees say that you must live inside the city limits or in the municipal influence area. But if you're going to have a Fort Bragg representative, that person may or may not live in those two areas. They may live on Fort Bragg, or they may live in Fayetteville or some other town close by. But the reason they wanted to do that is so that even if a person doesn't live in Spring Lake, but they're active duty at Fort Bragg, they can serve on that committee and be an asset to them.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I was just wondering if the sergeant might say anything to, maybe tell us what his rank was, or is, been beat up already.
Sure. I'm an active duty, and I'm a Chief Warrant Officer 3. I've been in for 23 years active duty. I just recently got back from 3 years in Okinawa, Japan. I think you said SM, not right. SM stands for Service Member, not Sergeant Major.
I didn't know what that was.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly because I wasn't sure.
I wasn't either.
And just to give you a little background, how specifically I came into talking with Mr. Eric Nielsen about this is, so both my wife and I just recently, like I said, came back from Okinawa, Japan for 3 years, and we moved directly into the area. After being here now for about 12 months, we're reconsidering where we want to make our permanent home, right? So potentially in the next 3 years or so, I'm going to consider retirement. Spring Lake is one of those areas, so we're actually looking at potentially purchasing a home here. So during that time, I was looking around on the website and I found the city council, and then from the city council, I ended up finding this specific committee, and I've been looking for a chance to try to serve the community in some type of capacity for veterans specifically. And so when I saw that, then I reached out, and that's how I ended up getting connected with Mr. Nielsen. But I currently reside in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And having said all that, I wanted to offer, it's a voluntary position, I wanted to offer those services, and because of my tenure, I just feel like I could bring a lot of value added to the community to try to, bridge those gaps.
What do you feel?
Special forces. I initially came in as a ranger back in the 90s, served there, then went military intelligence from there, learned Chinese from Chinese, then I went in special forces, and I've been in there ever since.
Do we have a misprint on here? Did you say?
The SM? No, that was just my brain not knowing what to say.
Typically, that's an acronym that the military uses that stands for service member.
I will spell it out.
Well, it's not printed right, if that's the case. It says filling a position, it must be active duty SM.
Yeah,
SM stands for service member. I think they just may have not have spelled it out. I'm not privy to the.
Oh, okay.
Alderman Christian.
I'd like to offer a motion, Mayor, that we approve the application for Mr. Jamie Tilkey to serve a 3-year term on the Military and Veterans Advisory Committee.
Alderman Cooper.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and second to name Mr. Jamie Tilkey to the Spring Lake Military Veterans Affairs Committee. You heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Sir. Moving along, 9E, discussion of boys and girls contract. Mr. Gerald and Mr. Graves.
Yes, Mayor, Board of Alderman, we have before you tonight the Spring Lake contract with Boys and Girls of Spring Lake. In discussions with the Boys and Girls Club, they don't really have any issues as far as augmenting their schedule. However, I think there have been some confusion as when they have to change as far as giving notice and us staying congruent with what we're asking them to do. So, from the board tonight, that they could give me the issues that they have with the contract, we can move forward, or we can handle this at a different meeting. Just all depends on what you want to do, but the issue is up for discussion.
When is the contract?
Mayor Pro Tem McGarrett.
I think the contract is due now. I think that we're open, it's an open operating agreement. We haven't signed it. We haven't signed it.
It started in, I think it was July.
Did we sign it?
It was July. No, we haven't signed it.
It said July.
Oh, we haven't signed it right.
Well, we haven't
That's right,
signed it.
we have not signed it.
We have not signed it. So, it's a chance to,
Remember the action at 10 on this?
well, this was added to the agenda, so, it just wanted, I guess, to discuss it. So if we want to have a special meeting to discuss this, we
Well,
can.
that's when this came to effect the first time, we were supposed to get together and have a special meeting, and we never did that. And this has been going on too long, and this needs to handle, so we might need to, I don't know if we can do that now or have that special meeting, because there's a lot of issues in here that needs to be discussed. I don't know if this is the time to do it or not. We need to have a special meeting. I don't know. How do you
Well, I guess we can address that in the 9G section to determine the meeting schedule for November 12th. That's a holiday, so we would have to set a special board meeting for November 12th. It's a holiday, town holiday.
You have to do it on November 12th?
No, you just, at the end of this,
November 12th.
right, set it. But you wouldn't set it until you get to that section of 9G.
Oh.
You know, lost me. Just on this one over there.
Yes.
You said 9G says board to determine November 12th meeting. Is that a regular board meeting?
That was a regular board meeting, but it's a holiday today.
Okay, so what does that have to do with the Boys and Girls Club meeting?
So what you would do is that, since that's a holiday that day, you would just say maybe meet November 13th.
For that day?
For
So what
that.
about the Boys and Girls Club?
You could add, that could be on the agenda for November 13th.
But we need to meet first to discuss that before we bring it to the board, right? We need to discuss that, or we're gonna be here all night. So we need to have a meeting to discuss just the Boys and Girls contract.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
We
So-
don't need to do it on the same day we have the board meeting. We need to do it before then. So when we come back to the board meeting, whatever day it is, we have a final decision on what we want to do.
Right, this was added, this board meeting to discuss, so, in the essence of time, November 13th or 14th, 15th, 16th, or 17th, whatever date the board decides to discuss that in a special meeting, we can do that.
Okay, but we need to do it before November the 12th.
You don't have to.
I'm confused.
You know, okay, here's what I'm saying. This agenda item was added to tonight. So the board is saying that they want to discuss this at another meeting because of the time. So with that being said, when we
just felt that this needed to be conversed, we needed to talk about this before whenever we got here.
It doesn't have nothing to do with the board meeting. There's a lot of issues in here that needs to be discussed. And when we had the meeting, 2 meetings prior to that, That's what we said at the end, that we will go together and we will talk with you, the recreation director, and all the board members will get together and have a meeting. So we never did that. And that's something we had on record. So that's something we need to do. So it needs to be done before the November the 12th or 13th meeting.
So we need to.
Because we're gonna bring, yeah, we need a surgery, yeah.
A work
Session or whatever you call it. Because when we come back on the 12th or the 13th, it needs to be put on the agenda for us to go ahead and get this contract, because we're running without a contract and we don't need to be running without a contract.
Okay, we'll add a special meeting.
Okay, that's it.
Hi. I think I can offer some clarification.
Thank you.
What you could do, since November the 12th would be your next regular meeting, but it's a town holiday, what you could do is not worry about that meeting, cancel that regular meeting, schedule a special meeting to do what you're talking about now, discuss this with all of the entities, and then we could put the contract on the next regular meeting, which will be November the that second meeting in November. 26th. Okay. Would that be a timely enough way to do it?
Yes, that sounds good.
Yes. With the exactly, and she spelled it out too.
Okay, I make a motion that we table the discussion Boys and Girls Club contract until we have a work session on November 12th, and then to be added to the November 22nd regular meeting.
November 12th, that's not right.
The special meeting would be someday other than November the 12th.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But you could just, if you don't want to decide tonight what day you want to do that, you can just say a special meeting will be called, and we can put it that way.
So I make a motion that we table the discussion with Boys and Girls Club contract and reschedule it for a special meeting to be determined at a later date and add it to the November 22nd agenda.
November 26th.
Yes, November 26th.
Alderman Jackson.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and second. As stated. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor? Sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sign of nay. Okay, item 9F, the resolution for 2018-13, disaster debris recovery services. Mr. Jerry.
Yes, the mayor, Board of Alderman, I have before you the agenda item to approve the resolution selecting the low bid for the debris removal of the town. I am asking that you pick New Star Development. They're doing it for $1,440 a load. That's $1,440 per load, plus $8,000 mobilization fee times 20 loads. That's $28,800. The other is DRC Energy Services. They're doing it for a quote of $2,139 per load. At 20 loads, that's $42,000. So New Star is considerably lower. New Star Development is considerably lower. I'm asking you to approve the resolution.
Do we have any information on their reliability? The different, do we have any information on these companies?
Right. Yes. During the bid process, we put together an RFQ. They all answered the RFQ. They had a performance of the previous jobs they did. They also, the one I selected, also submitted their certificate of liability and insurance, and it's $2 million.
Are these local, or are they?
All of these were out of state. One was from Alabama, I believe, and one is from Raleigh. The lower one was from Raleigh.
Are there questions before we Alderman Sullivan?
Okay, now we was talking about the, every day, every week, debris that I bring out of my yard and every other citizen, that the individuals who work for the town are supposed to pick up. It stayed out there for a while. So now, we said we needed some help. I'm gonna talk to you about it. So this contract that you're asking, they're gonna help move that hurricane debris?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Is that what they're picking up?
Yes. They're gonna pick up hurricane debris to help expedite the cleanliness of the town. It was done in this manner so that we could get these funds back. So we'll expend these funds, but we will get reimbursed the entire amount of funds back.
You will?
That's why we did it like this, because this is under the $30,000 mark. But if I just would have went ahead and entered into a contract, we would not have gotten those funds reimbursed back.
Did they give you a timeline when it's gonna be completed?
No, ma'am, no timeline other than we need to get it done.
Are there any other questions before a motion is made? Mayor Pro Tem O'Gara.
Okay, have these guys started doing the roads yet? Are they out there yet?
Which guys? You mean town guys?
No, your crew.
Right, yes. They're working on it, but as we're working on it, more people are bringing more debris.
No, I'm talking about these people that you just hired.
Oh, no, they're not.
So now we're going about almost a month with nobody out here picking up our debris. I had got a bunch of complaints last week, and I called the people up there and I told them about this stuff sitting directly across the street from the police department, and fire department, and it had been sitting there for so long. There's stuff out there on 87, and it's been sitting there all this time. It's not like we didn't have trucks. We've got trucks. And we could have been doing this ourselves. And rather than give these people this money that we're supposed to get back from FEMA or somebody, but I feel that the citizens are the ones who will lose. So we could have cleaned this stuff up with our 2 trucks. I know I called up and asked the guys about the trucks probably a week ago Friday. And I was told one guy was sick and the other guy was off. So I'm saying to myself, wow, that don't sound like an operation that I had in Army. Not when we're in an emergency type situation. You know, we're in a situation we need to do everything we can do to make things happen. I didn't feel purely disgusted. By the way, on Saturday, the trash don't close at 4 o'clock. We have to look. Not closed on Saturday. But I'm gonna go for these guys to come in here and do a job. But we should have already taken care of our front door and our highway out here. But it should come through. That stuff just got me going. Thank you.
Any other Alderwoman Sutherland?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2018-13 to accept the bid to submit and award the bid to the new Star Development.
Second that motion.
It has been moved and second that we approve the resolution, 2013 disaster debris recovery services. You've heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? All in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed, sign of nay. All right. One last item on the agenda, or two items. The board is to determine the November 12th, 2018 meeting schedule. Alderwoman Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we cancel the November 12th meeting and reschedule to the 26th.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and second, we reschedule the November 12th meeting to November 26th, 2018.
It's a holiday.
You've heard the motion and ready for the question.
Question.
All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, sign of nay. The last word, Alderwoman Jackson.
I would like to thank everybody who came out. I would like to see more of our employees out here though for the meetings that we're having to show your interest in what's going on in the town. And I appreciate y'all for staying. I know we're a little long tonight, but sometimes when you handle business, you have to take your time and not rush and get things done right and decent and in order. Thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you all for coming. She gets next to the last word, I get the final word. Is there a motion for adjournment? Alderwoman Cooper.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Alderwoman Jackson.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded, we hereby adjourn. All in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed, sign of nay. Ayes have it.
I'm not selling any tickets, but I am helping us,
Bernard.